Hello folks, welcome back to the channel, and sorry for all of the annoying points of interest markers. I don't know how to take them off, but there you are. Anyway, yeah, this video, just a quick one really, a discussion about whether you out there should upgrade your VR headset or your graphics card. It's a question that people ask me all the time, and you might be surprised with what I'm going to say. So I'm not going to take too long about this, folks. I'm just going to give you my opinion. And you know, you can disagree with me, that's fine, but based upon doing this flight sim thing for a long time now, I personally feel the graphics card is more important than your VR headset, depending upon where you're coming from. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples. Let's say you've got a Quest 3 and you're running a 3070, for example, and you're wanting to, you know, really upgrade your experience. Now, so long as you are happy with your headset and you're not looking for more resolution, the Quest 3 has fantastic optics, fantastic pancake lenses, and with virtual desktop support, it is a really good little headset really, you know, for the money. And so long as you're happy with that and you just want maybe a little bit more sharpness, but you're happy with the headset itself, and you're thinking, say, well, I'm going to go get a Pimax Crystal Super, that's not a good idea, because the Crystal Super, you know, or the Crystal Light, for example, they are really like very beefy, high resolution VR headsets, and you're not going to have a good time if you've got a GPU that cannot support it. It's simple as that. There's no point in buying the latest VR headset with the best resolution possible if you cannot back it up with a really good GPU. So in my opinion, if I had a Quest 3 and I just wanted a better experience, you know, and to be able to sharpen that headset up a little bit, I would go for a 4090, or if you're going to go really crazy, even a 5080 or 5090. I know it sounds odd, but actually a Quest 3 with a 5090 is mind-blowing, because you can then crank up that super sampling. You can enjoy smooth frame rate with either synchronous space warp with VDXR, or even native frames per second, or even locking it without motion projection at say 40 frames per second at 80 Hz, and it's gonna be so silky smooth. The thing is, folks, I'm gonna say the obvious thing here, but VR is probably the hardest thing you can do with a graphics card these days for the consumer market. And even something like a Quest 3 will give a 5090 a run for its money at godlike mode in a sim environment like this. So sometimes it makes more sense to completely reverse and do the opposite of what you might think is a good idea. That is, get the most powerful GPU possible on your budget and a mid-range VR headset. Because let me tell you, you're going to have a better experience doing that than someone who's got a Pimax Crystal Super but cannot run it at nice resolutions and has terrible performance. They would have a better time in a Quest 3. So that might be an unpopular opinion, but trust me, I feel that is definitely the way to go, because what's the most important thing when you're in VR? Well, in my opinion, performance. You've got to have a decent performance, otherwise it doesn't matter how good it looks in the headset. If you're going to get stutters, you're going to feel sick, you know, it's going to just be a very uncomfortable experience. Smoothness, you know, frame rate, so important. This is like so smooth right now, and that's what you want first and foremost. Then you want good frame timing and just general good performance in the sim. And in order to do that, you need to give yourself plenty of headroom. What I mean by that is go to a heavy hitter area like London City or Geneva, as my good friend Uva mentioned to me the other day. You know, somewhere where there's lots of reflections, there's water, but there's buildings, there's photogrammetry. Really tax the system, get a decent level of performance there, then, you know, you're going to get it everywhere. Like, for instance, here. This is I'm getting amazing performance here. I'm getting 60 odd frames per second in the Super with the 5090, simply because obviously, you know, there's a lot of desert here, and even though there's a lot of photogrammetry, it's not that taxing on the system. So always go for performance first, then start to crank up that resolution. So for example, say you've got a crystal light, you know, and you want a crystal super, but you've got a 4070 Ti super. Admittedly, with the super, even if you use it at medium settings, you're going to benefit from the better fill factor, the brightness, the field of view, the better lenses. So that does make sense as well. But really, ideally, I think you'll have a better time, so long as you're happy with the crystal light, upgrading your GPU so you can then run the crystal light at full native resolution. Because let me tell you, a crystal light at full native resolution with a 5090 friggin' rocks. You'll be very happy with that experience. And that's really all I've got to say for this little video today. It's just one of those things that, you know, it's not like flat screen gaming. VR is so taxing to run, and even a 5090 you can benefit having a 5090 with a Quest 3. You really can, because the Quest 3 is still really hard to run. You're talking of very high resolutions there, you know? So depending on what's important to you, I personally feel that performance and comfort and a great headroom so that you can enjoy your flight sim in VR is #1 priority. And once you've got that dialed in, you've got a powerful computer, then start thinking about that next VR headset, because there's no point running before you can walk. And I just know there's going to be people out there that are going to get a super and complain about the really bad performance. They're going to crank it at full native resolution, which is like 6,280 by 6,000 something, you know, and you're just going to hate yourself for doing it, because, you know, it's just not worth it. Now thankfully we do have dynamic foveated rendering now. We've got DCS 4, which is definitely helping get that performance where it needs to be. But really, if it's my advice, get a decent graphics card first. For the super, I would recommend a 4070 Ti super and above, nothing lower, okay? Because otherwise you're just not going to have a good time. And that'll do for this little video today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.